Okidoki. I've always been fascinated with the idea of Houseki no Kuni's immortal gems. While you can smash them to pieces, if you put them back together again, they're as good as new, so you can't really kill them in the traditional sense. Which means that, if left to their own devices, they can basically live forever. The thing about immortality though, when you have all the time in the world, it means there's less need for you to change. When your body doesn't grow, your mind doesn't need to grow much either. Which makes it all the more interesting when our main character, Phosphophyllite, actually does go through quite a bit of growing across season 1. And experiences all the pain that comes with it. If you look at Phos at the start of the series, you could easily describe them as someone who's pretty careless. One of our first scenes with Phos is watching them pamper themselves in front of a pond, admiring how cute they are, but when Phos actually goes to greet Big Daddy Sensei, they still have this little dandelion left on their head. When Phos offers to repair Morganite wanting to be helpful, Morganite rejects them instantly because last time Phos put their legs on backwards. When you look even further, you'll start to realize that Phos actually isn't all that well liked by the other gems. When Phos is eaten and supposedly turned into a snail, Diamond goes around asking everyone for advice on how to help Phos, but everyone pretty quickly brushes Dia off.
ボスがその前にちょっと机直しちゃわないと。
まあ、このままでもいいんじゃね？キモいけどおとなしいし、キモいけど迷惑かけねえだろ。
そっか、フォス何にもできなくなっちゃったね。
もともと何もしてなかったぞ。
You could chalk this up to the gems not being that worried because they're immortal, they have all the time in the world to figure this out. But the fact that no one but Dia wanted to help Phos in their predicament? Personally, I would want to die. But it does go to show that Phos is seen as pretty childish and annoying, which I guess you could say that Phos could benefit from growing up a little.
変わりたいとは常々思っております。
Since Phos is the only one of the gems that doesn't have a job, Phos wants to show their worth to everyone. Which is why Phos is so obsessed with wanting to fight the Lunarians, because they see it as the quickest and easiest path to becoming useful. However, Phos is unfortunately the weakest of the gems, easily cracking under any pressure. They can't really train to be stronger because gems don't have muscles, so there's not really a conventional way for Phos to improve. So, how does an immortal gem grow and become stronger? Well, across season 1, Phos gets, let's say, reborn 3 different times, each one leading to a change of some sort. The first is when Phos gets eaten by that giant snail, melted down and absorbed, forced to realize how truly helpless they are, desperately calling out to gems that don't seem to really care about them. The second is when Phos gets attacked while out at sea and ends up losing their legs, being replaced by Argate from one of the giant snail shells, which ends up giving Phos super speed. Which is great, while still as weak as before, Phos's newfound agility has given them the opportunity to finally fight. How lucky of them. The third instance is when Phos loses their arms during the winter, and has them replaced by this gold alloy, giving Phos yet another ability that allows them to stretch and shapeshift parts of their body, while also losing so much more because of it. Phos has indeed grown stronger by the end of the series, now able to fight on the front lines just like they always wanted. But now that their body has technically grown in a way, the mind also has to catch up. While the first 2 rebirths arguably resulted in little to no change behavior-wise, the third time definitely caused a drastic shift in Phos's personality. Phos has finally grown up. I forgot to mention this, but when gems are broken and put back together again, they're technically not always good as new. Instead of having a brain just like us, gems store their memories in the microorganisms living in their body, which means that if even a single shard is missing, they can lose whatever memories were stored in that shard. While a tiny piece here and there isn't too much to worry about, we all forget stuff all the time, Phos has lost both their arms and their legs. The immortal Phos may not have died during those instances, but the Phos we once knew has been lost within the depths of the ocean. The Phos we now know is no longer the same as before. Phos is cold and apathetic. When once they are able to lazily sleep in during the day, Phos is now unable to sleep at all, trapped in an endless awakening, both figuratively and literally. There's no more of that cheerfulness, that carefree, stubborn, immature self that they once had. Reduced to a shell of themselves, all that's left is whatever this new Phos is. And that terrifies me. But because of this, Phos is finally accepted by the other gems, no longer the lazy, annoying self that the others once hated.
割れちゃ動けなかったボスとは思えない。
But given all the trauma Phos has endured, all the memories Phos has lost, it all just feels a little ironic that it's only now that Phos is accepted by everyone, stripped of what made them who they were, along with who they lost as well. 3 different times, Phos had to watch a gem sacrifice themselves to save them. Diamond threw Phos out of the way when they lost their sword. Amethyst got ripped to pieces right in front of Phos, their screams piercing into your skull. And while those two end up being saved, the last one, Antarcticite, tells Phos to stay quiet as they are shattered and taken away. Phos, unable to do anything, so desperately wanting to save Antark, but also so scared that they're holding themselves back with their own arms, unable to control their body under the intense fear. Even when they are able to finally move, the gold continues to hold Phos back, weighing them down, erasing the speed their new legs once had, as Antark gets further and further away. But still, Phos runs. Phos runs so hard that their body ruptures under the pressure, more and more Phos being lost in the snow, while they are still unable to do anything, only able to throw their sword, hoping something, anything could reach Antarcticite. But it never does. In return for strength and respect, Phos is now racked with survivor's guilt, forcibly remodeled into something more socially acceptable, their insomnia trapping them in an ever-waking nightmare, their responsibility becoming a burden instead of a dream come true.
強くなって満足か。
いいことがない。
だろうな。
This is what terrifies me about Phos's story. The horror in seeing someone grow up too fast, the curse of adulthood that we have all experienced at one point or another, wishing we could go back to the good old days where we didn't have to worry so much. And when you think about it, what happens to Phos isn't all that different from how we as humans grow up. While we aren't able to break off and replace our limbs, growing up naturally comes with losing parts of yourself. You no longer believe in Santa Claus, no longer have that childlike innocence and wonder. It all gets replaced by the knowledge we gain, the experiences we live through. You can even see it when the gems react to Phos's gold arms. The dichotomy of everyone's childlike wonder compared to how uncomfortable Phos is. And I think that's what makes Houseki no Kuni so interesting, because of how it takes something that is so natural, growing up and changing as a person, and twists it into something horrifying, watching a person break both physically and mentally, seeing them lose sense of who they are, their identity being irreversibly destroyed and remade into something else. But having said that, I haven't been entirely truthful with you all. I said that the old Phos was no longer with us, but that's technically a lie. The Phos we once knew and loved hasn't actually been erased. At least, not fully. Phos is still there. While they seem cold, they're actually more awkward than anything, struggling to deal with the newfound attention while dealing with their own problems. Phos is actually still able to joke around quite a bit, especially around boards.
なんだやるか前ほど怖くねえぞそう時間ください
築人を見るとああなる相変わらずイカれてるなあんたが言うな
Phos isn't all gone, Phos is just different now. There's this ancient Japanese technique called kintsugi that pops into mind. When a bowl or cup is broken, instead of throwing it away, they would instead repair it with gold, making it actually more resilient than it once was, giving it a brand new life. Which, when said out loud, doesn't that remind you of anyone? Phos may have been broken, both mentally and physically, but because of the gold that now flows inside their body, they have indeed been reborn. While they have changed, Phos is still very much Phos. A little more grown up and mature, a little more tired and weary, but still Phos all the same. And I think that really represents how I see Houseki no Kuni Season 1. Life is gonna throw so much shit at you, but no matter how damaged you get, despite everything, you will still be you. As any manga readers would know, life still has a lot of shit to throw at Phos. But hopefully, we can all make it through all the bad stuff together. At least, until Season 2 finally gets announced.